A priest was warning his listeners about the suddenness of death. Before another day is ended, he thundered, somebody in this parish may die. Seated in the front row was a little old Irish woman who laughed out loud. Irritated, the priest said, "What's so funny?" "Well," she said, "I'm not a member of this parish." Today's gospel is for every parish, every denomination, every Irish woman in the entire church, and anyone and to anyone on a spiritual journey. It is, in a word, transcendence, briefly passing from this life to the next. Without it, according to Garrison Keillor, what's the point of going to church? I agree. We come to church for transcendence. Christianity, properly understood, is a transcendent beauty. Beauty, another word for holiness. The story of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection is not only the greatest story ever told, it is the most beautiful story ever told. Today is Transfiguration Sunday, a major feast day in the Anglican Church. Today we hear the conversation of heaven, which concerns the awesome entry of the heavenly, holy mystery of God into our experience. Once my friend Ari, who came from California, was in church, and there was an earthquake. The building shook and rumbled, he told me. And afterward he said to the minister, "This was the most moving service I've ever attended." Today's gospel has some shaking and rumbling in it, and it should move us. For ever so briefly, the veil is drawn aside, and we are permitted to see Jesus not as the earth-born Son of Mary, but as the eternal Son of God. And those of us who know him and believe in his beauty, our ordinary lives get transfigured into something extraordinary, and life itself becomes the most moving of experiences. And what really bugs me, since we're on the topic, is how so many today present a Christianity of guilt and shame as a fear-motivated religion, or as a political agenda, or they talk to people, preachers talk people into believing what they believe, preaching more about morality or money rather than mystery, making it all about their church rather than all about Jesus Christ, the eternal, living icon of God. It was Nietzsche who coined the phrase "the death of God," observing that society had severed the beautiful from the divine. It is the beauty of Christianity that will draw all people to him, and it is the living out of this beauty by you and me, his followers, that will attract their attention. At an ecumenical clergy gathering, I wasn't here long, a couple years ago, we went around the room, and each clergy took turns sharing what was happening at our respective churches. Youth fundraisers were mentioned, and spaghetti dinners and stewardship programs. When it came to me, the leader asked, "What's going on at St. Mark's Episcopal?" "I see angels," I answered. You ever want to shake things up at a meeting? Just mention that you see angels. Changes the entire dynamic. They all looked at me like I was kind of funny. Sort of like some of you are looking at me now. And I explained, with the eyes of my faith, through the intuition of my heart, I see a great cloud of witnesses filling our sanctuary, wrapped in flowing robes like a Raphael painting, moving and hovering during the Eucharistic prayer. Therefore we praise you, joining our voices with angels and archangels and with all the company of heaven, moms and dads and siblings and children and spouses. They are here, we are here, and God is here. And I transcend, briefly passing from this life to the next, participating in the heavenly host in the Lord's Supper. And the only word for it is glory. It's glory. And in telling this to my clergy brethren, I'm sure my face glowed a bit. And they went away thinking and scratching their heads, what's happening at the Episcopal Church? The Hebrew word for glory is kavod. And kavod means weight or significance. The prophet Isaiah had a vision of heaven, and in his vision angels were shouting, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of God's glory." The whole earth is full of the weight and significance of who God is, of where God is, of what God has made. And if you don't witness the weight and significance of God, if you don't occasionally entertain angels or spirits, and if God isn't seen in the life of creation all around you, tell me and I will pray for you, because it is beautiful and it is electrifying, and because it is what makes life worth living. The Transfiguration puts awe back in religion. One day, Jesus led Peter, James, and John up this mountain, and they saw the vision, the transcendent reality, mystical and glorious, of the earthly Jesus transformed into the Christ of heaven. And Peter blurted out, "Master, it is good for us to be here," and that they should put up 3 little pup tents and stay a while and have a little campfire, roast some marshmallows, because he didn't know what to say. Apparently, he did not consider silence as an option. And Jesus and Moses and Elijah hovering above the timid disciples, a cloud then overshadowed them. Overshadowed is the same word the writer Luke uses in telling the story of Mary being visited by an angel. The Holy Spirit overshadowed her, and she became with child. Moses encountered God on Mount Sinai, as you remember, with smoke and earthquake, and God spoke in a violent thunder as God's fingertip etched the commandments in stone tablets that he carried down to the Hebrew camp. Elijah, the 9th century BC prophet who defied the northern king Ahab and his pagan queen Jezebel, called fire down from heaven and burned up the sacrifice that her priests had intended for the storm god Baal. This upset the queen, so she sent her army to abduct the prophet. And so he fled and he sought shelter on Mount Horeb. And he prayed, and God spoke comfort to him, but it did not come in an earthquake. It did not come in thunder. It did not come with fire. But God spoke to Elijah in a gentle wind's whisper, the sound of sheer silence, a still small voice, depending on which Bible version you read. But on another holy mountain, today's mountain, we find a new way to encounter God. When Moses and Elijah appeared alongside Jesus, how then does God speak? Thunder? Whisper? Well, it's neither. Now God speaks to us through love, his Son, the chosen, my beloved. Listen to him. The message of Jesus that would inspire the world is that there is a transcendent God, and that the character of this God is love. In the ancient world, this was basically unheard of. Aristotle himself said it would be nuts to claim to love Zeus. Yes, he used the word nuts. No one wrote songs that said, Zeus loves me, this I know, for the Iliad tells me so. The Eastern religions generally did not believe in a personal God at all. But when anybody, wherever, whenever, says, I believe in a God of love, they are echoing the Nazarene. The vision of a loving, good God transported people into another reality, a universe founded upon love. As the old song goes, when nothing else could help, love lifted me. There's a story that I'll end with about a pilgrim on a quest who climbed the proverbial mountain to ask the old guru the secret of life. And after much time and pain and effort, the climber with calloused hands, he finally reached the top, and seeing the guru sitting in a yoga position waiting for him, he humbly asks, I've come with a question, what is the meaning of life? And the guru says, the answer is, you're on the wrong mountain. You should be over on that mountain over there. A life spent without God is a life spent climbing the wrong mountain. We reach the end and we are tired, and our calloused hands, they may be full of things, but our hearts, our souls are empty. On this mountain, the Mount of Transfiguration, God is telling us Jesus is the one. Jesus is the way of love to him. Amen.